Hey guys, this is Seth Underwood with SU Fly Fishing here with another story time. We're going to talk about my personal best brown trout to date. Now, I hope to break this soon. I have seen and hooked into some brown trout that are bigger than this one. Unfortunately, the picture quality I had on this was an old Nokia flip phone that was waterproof, and the picture quality was crap. You can't really see how big this fish was. It looks smaller than what it is, and it's just one of those things where I can tell y'all how big it is, and I know someone's going to go and be like, "That's not that size." Well, okay, so that's all I can say to that. So the this fish, unfortunately, I did not have a weight or scale. All I can use was the equation for guessing fish weight. And I had the length was right at 24 inches, and the girth was 14.9. Okay, 14.9 inches. And the reason I say 14.9 is because it was millimeters off the 15. So I just made it 0.9. That's what I'm going to do. And it probably had a little bit more, like a 0.95 or something, whatever. And the equation is this. So if you put 24, 14.9, 14.9, you get really close to 6 pounds. Now, that being said, it probably was a little bit longer. I mean, maybe another 0.5. It was so close. I can't say it was 15 for sure, but it was close. So it's right at 6 pounds. That's the biggest brown trout I've hooked into. So here's the story behind it. Starting off, I was taking a buddy of mine at the time. His name was Brent. We were fishing at this spot that unfortunately no longer holds big fish because people found out about it. People came there and they were keeping way too many fish. People were poaching. People were using treble hooks. Take him to the spot where I know there are big fish at. This river does not have a lot of fish in it. For example, if you go there and catch 4 or 5 fish, you've had a great day. But the vast majority of fish are 20 inches or bigger. Now, and all these fish are pretty much wild. And why I say that is a lot of them got into the river as very small fingerlings. And again, this is going to be on another video that I'm going to put out there for story time. Okay. Go to the first spot, and he hooks into a huge rainbow trout. That was probably close to 20, 22 inches, and this is his very first trout on a fly rod. And he's fishing with a 4-weight, and he is losing his mind. I have him on 5X leader, and he is, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do? So I come up behind him, the fish is just ripping, so I pull the drag up just a little bit on his reel, and I say, keep the rod down and bend it away from wherever he's pulling. So if he starts coming upstream, reel, get the line in and pull. So he's fighting this fish, fighting this fish, fighting this fish. It's great. And then the fish jumps in the air, takes off downstream, and turns his head. Hook pops out. There's nothing really you can do it, especially someone that's new that has no idea what they're doing, you know? After that hole, we go up to this next one. It's a little bit more shallow, and we notice the fish is rising, and we get very excited. So I have not caught anything, but this is his first time, so I'm kind of just being like, all right, I'm going to try and get him a fish. And he gets real excited, and so we wait a little bit, watch the fish rising, and I tell him, I say, hey, man, this is what I think they're eating. And at the time, it was spring, and what looked like was mayflies. So what I decided to give them is a size, they looked kind of big, so I put on a size 12 Adams. I put some floating on it, and I told him to get down because the trees overhang, and again, he's new, so he's trying to get as much line as he can. He gets to the point where he's starting to smack the water, so I'm having to slowly get him up there, and the fish is rising. And long story short, he drifts this thing about 5 feet. The only decent cast he had up to that point, he'd been casting for about 20 minutes, and every couple casts we had to stop and let him start rising again. We put it about 5 feet to his left, and it came down. And I'm telling him, what to do and stuff. And that fish came over, ate it, went down, and he hooked into it, brought it in the net. Unfortunately, I do not have the picture for this. It was on his phone, and it was about a size 16, 17-inch rainbow. This fish was stocked. So we get it to the next hole, and this is a really deep, long hole with a whole bunch. This is brown trouty as it gets. There's one log that comes across, another log that comes down here, a whole bunch of big boulders and sticks and rocks and stuff. And there's one current that does this. It shoots underneath this log, and it comes out. And, I mean, you look at it, and you go, ooh, I'm going to tie on a streamer. That's what I did. I tied on a size 6 conehead woolly bugger, black with a little bit of tinsel through it. And I get a brown trout to eat, and I'm very excited about this brown trout eating. He eats it because at this point, I'm not, because when I see him come out to eat it, I don't keep stripping. I let it sit. So he comes up, eats it, turns like this after he ate it, and opened his mouth again, and I pulled it out. So my fault for stopping, my fault for being, for allowing myself to stop, because I have a feeling that, and what I know is when he thinks that thing is trying to get away from whatever it is, the hit's going to be very aggressive, and he's going to hit it and turn immediately. But when I let it die, it came up and ate it like it was a bug. So I lose that fish, and I'm real sad. I take my buddy in that hole. I've run some nymphs through there. He catches a couple stalker fish in there, about 12 to 13 inches. And at this point, he's having a blast. So we come up through this holes, and I'm giving him all the best spots. I'm letting him fish all the time. The only time I cast first was on that one big hole where the brown trout is. Okay, so we're right there, and I'm just thinking in my head, there's nothing else that I could do at this moment to catch anything, because where we're fishing, the river was not big enough for 2 people. It wasn't big water, and the holes I was taking them in, you have to cast to get the fish to eat at very particular spots, because it was a river that was shallow, then real deep, then shallow, then real. It was really, really awkward if you tried to wade in the river. There was points where you could kind of get in the water a little bit, but there was gradients. There was like gravelly sides where you could slide down into deep holes, and you don't want to do that, especially with waders on. So we're going up, and he's probably caught about 4 or 5 fish, and they've all been stalkers, but he's having a great time. So at that point, I say, hey man, do you mind if I go? There was this little waterfall, and the waterfall maybe is 4 or 5 feet tall, and it's like comes down to cascades. It goes 1 into a hole, 2 into a hole, and into a main current. And I put him down there. I tied him up with a pheasant tail because of mayfly hatch, and then underneath it I put a little copper john just in case. So he's drifting, and he hooks into a fish, and I'm real excited, and the fish is maybe 12, 13 inches, and he's having a great time. I go up to the next brown trout spot, and what it is it has 2 trees and this real deep hole right above the waterfall. And when I say real deep, I mean like 4 or 5 feet deep, but it's all rock bottom. And this tree comes down across, and another tree comes out like this, and there are bushes overhanging in the main current. So what you have to do, if you're streamer fishing, is you literally have to take this thing and flick it in there. And I have lost so many streamers trying to flick them into this little hole that's about like this from 30, 40 feet away. And that's a streamer. It's a size 6, size 8 conehead, with a 4-weight. Well, at that point, I got lucky. I put it right in, about 2-3 feet into this little overgrow. And as soon as it hit the water, I stripped one time, and I saw this brown swirl hit it, and I hook into it. When I hooked into this fish, all chaos broke loose. And I'm fishing with 5X at this point. I fight this fish. It's jumping everywhere. It's going crazy. And I hook, and my buddy down there, after I hooked into it, I'm starting to walk back, trying to walk out of the trees, trying to lead him out. It takes off this way, finally gets out of the trees, and I'm fighting him right above the waterfall. My buddy, Brent, who's been catching fish all day, he's real excited. I said, hey man, can you bring the net up there? He goes, yeah. He goes, why? And as soon as he says why, jumps about 4 or 5 feet out in the air. Get it? So you see this guy. This guy's about 6'2", maybe 150 pounds soaking wet, and waders that do not fit him. And he is stumbling and climbing, trying to get up onto the thing. I'm like, dude, calm down. I got him so far. And as soon as he gets up there, that fish takes up, big tall thing scares him, takes up underneath the tree, and as I'm pulling here, up over on the other side of the tree, you see this fish come up. And what had happened is when he shot under the tree and I had pulled on him, he had cut into a little branch with the line and it was up. So I'm sitting there trying to pull him and I can't. Brent, and he's just sitting there like this and he starts flopping around. Next thing I know, tall, goofy Brent runs to the tree with this net that was probably way too small for this fish, dumps it under there, snaps the line, gets the streamer still in his mouth, comes over there, and I catch my fish. That is, again, here's a picture. To date, my biggest brown trout. And I hope this year I can show y'all fish. I've caught a few fish close to that size, but I hope that I can show y'all some fish maybe bigger. I would love to show, there's some places near where I live, it's a couple hour drive, that hold brown trout that are up to 30 inches. But I hope that y'all enjoy the story, and if you have anything any input that you would like to give, please leave them down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe. So, as always, guys, tight lines and blessings.